Hi, welcome back to the farm. My name's Roz, also known as Passion Flower, and you'll find me here each week talking about my farming and creative life. First, an update on my nose. About 4 weeks ago now, I had a cancerous lump removed from this side of my face. You can see my nostrils are not actually symmetrical right now. One is much more open than the other. There is still a little bit of swelling that's starting to come down. Also, too, because of where the lump was taken out, there is sort of like a crease there now. Um, and the skin is still quite tight because there's graft skin there. So it's starting to loosen up, but every morning I feel it like tenses up. So I put quite a lot of moisturizer on it. I'm also putting quite a lot of moisturizer on the spot where the graft came from, but now the scab has gone and it is almost where you can't really tell unless you really know what you're looking for. So I'm really grateful that it's all been cleared up. I've gone to the doctor one last time and he's really happy with how it's all come together. So yeah, I now have to be very, very careful with lots of sun cream. I always have done that, but obviously now on this new piece of skin as well, I have to be super careful. And hats and all of that kind of thing, even in this sort of grey, overcast kind of weather, because you don't want to risk it at all. Speaking of sunshine, last weekend I took a cheeky little trip to Noosa for the weekend for the King's birthday long weekend. School was not in on the Friday either, so it was like a little extra long weekend. So I went away with the family to Noosa. It was a wonderful weekend. That little short break was just wonderful. The weather was beautifully sunny and warm. It's really nice to take a short little break. The weather was amazing. The sun was out most of the time. We did some exploring. We went to the Imundi market. We went to the ginger factory, which was really fun. It was like a spur of the moment thing. It's a ginger factory, but not really where the ginger is grown or anything anymore, but more like information and history and all that kind of thing. It was gardens. There was a funny little like boat water thing you went around with like ginger from all around the world, and a train that gave you like the history of the ginger processing in the area. It was a lot of fun. We spent most of the afternoon there, and then I had a gingerbread ice cream, which had like chunks of ginger in it as well. It was a lot. By the end, my mouth was really, really hot, and I wanted to keep eating it because the ice cream was cold, but the ginger was making my mouth like kind of numb to a point. Yeah, everyone was teasing me because I kept going back, even though I was saying that it was way too much ginger. The following day, we went to Australia Zoo. That was my first time going there, and it was really awesome. Went to the Crocodile, of course, and I explored all of the animals. I didn't realize how large it was, so it was really amazing to explore the whole area and see all the different animals and how they'd set up all of the habitats. And yeah, we had a really amazing day. Then, obviously, really great food. And then we flew back on the Monday before going back to work on the Tuesday. And now we're already thinking about other holidays, maybe in September. I'm thinking about some holidays over the Christmas time going away. It's always good to have that next milestone holiday adventure to look forward to. So for the weekend, while I was away, Mum came up to the farm and she took care of all of the animals. She popped in and spent a little bit of time with my cats and fed them. And she really nicely weeded the garden that I had been intending to do before my surgery on my nose. So she weeded that all for me. It looks really nice. So now all I need to do at the end of winter is do the big pruning of my roses. So it looks really lovely now. The cats were a little bit annoyed with me, I think, when I got back. They had managed to break the fly screen in the bathroom while I was away. It was already a little bit rickety. One of the corners of the frame was a little bit wonky, but now it's broken in two corners, like the opposite corners, so it kind of doesn't sit square anymore. And the actual fly screen itself had like ripped away from the edges. So I went to Bunnings and bought myself a new frame. I had to figure out how to like actually install the fly screen itself, which was a little bit of a challenge, but I did get there. I think it looks really good now. So I'm quite happy with my handy woman skills. So I did that. And then they've been a little less snuggly on the bed at night. They've been sleeping in the lounge room by themselves. They're still like, sitting on my lap in the evening and coming in the morning and everything, maybe being a little bit more standoffish than usual. I don't know if that's just in my head or if that's actually what's happening. But then I was supposed to take Quinn to the vet yesterday for his vaccinations, and he would not go into his carrier. Like, up until this point, every time I've needed to put them into the carrier, all I need to do is kind of put the carriers out, give them a little call, grab a couple of little treats, and they will just both walk right in. It's been so easy. But this time, no. I tried sort of getting him wrapped in a towel and trying to coax him in, like put him in backwards. He was like putting his legs out. I couldn't get it right. And I tried the treats multiple times, and he would get to the point where he'd put his head in, but he wouldn't put enough of his body in that I could like push it and close the door. So I had to call the vet and say, look, it's just for vaccination. I don't want to force him in to the carrier and have him never want to get in there again. I need to make sure that he will get in there of his own accord. And they did agree with me on that. So I've postponed that until next week. So I have the carriers out by the door right now. And over this next week, I'm going to have to do some renewed carrier training to try and get them back in there again with treats. I'm going to try some different treats, I think, and see if I can coax them back in. I think they have the idea that maybe I'm going to be going away again, and so they're not all that prepared to get in. Although for the Noosa holiday, they were stayed at home, but they obviously have it now in their head that they can't get in there. So that was a bit frustrating. While we were away, there was quite a lot of rain. So our dam is starting to get a little bit fuller. It's almost to the level that it was at prior to us digging it out when it was completely dry. But we've now got quite a big dam wall. So we're hoping that we're going to get a lot more rain so that we can fill it to its new potential height, which will be much higher and a much better capacity for being able to have animals have water year round once it gets full. We also took down the fence that we had around the trees by the dam. We had hot wire and some star pickets. So we've removed all that now. The trees are now 3 years old. So they're all the ones that made it. And quite a few did, but we didn't do a lot of watering even over the full the full drought period. They are getting to be sort of waist height, some of the eucalypts and tea trees, and the grasses are doing really well. They're in sort of 3 patches with gaps in between. So now that the fence is down, Adam can get in there and slash in between, and then get the whippersnipper in and do a bit more like manicuring of the area so that we can really see what's going on. And then we can take the guards off some of the trees that are at a point that are getting much bigger. We're now in talks with Land Care to do some more planting either there or potentially across the other side of the creek. There is a section of bank of the creek that probably needs to be planted out as well. First of what I'm wearing this week, this is the See My Vest Chunky. I have made 3 of these. This is with 3 different yarns held together, I think. It's my Wispy Lace Mohair in the Wildflowers colorway. The DK yarn in there that's most of the multicolor is by Colleen's Crafts. And I think there's also a light green commercial lace yarn in here as well. And it is a nice layer to put on to keep me warm without being too hot. I can wear like a long sleeve t-shirt, pull it down or up, and it's good on these sort of winter days that are not really cold. when you're inside most of the time. And then when you go outside, you can just throw on a coat or a jacket over the top. I've not done a lot on my EXP by Santa and Co, but I have done a little bit. I am past the sleeve separation. I'm using the Louis and Lola colorway Callow. This is the Callow and this is the bronze, and it is a kit. Oh, just threw that away. This is a kit that you can still purchase from her on her website. Where is my sleeves? So I am about 8 rows from the sleeve split. So not a lot of progress on this. I didn't take this away with me on my Noosa weekend. I'll show you that knitting in a minute. But it's looking really fabulous. I'm about to start the first lot of body decreases. And it is now pretty rhythmic in terms of me knowing what to do, where to do my purl belows, which rows I'm knitting, and I'm really looking forward to making some more progress on this because I would like to get it off needles. It's been on for a while now, and look, understandably so. It is shaker stitch, which takes quite a bit to do. So, but the results are definitely worth it. So this is what I've got left of my first 2 balls. I think I'll continue with the body until I run out of these. Then I'll do the sleeves and then I'll go back to the body with what I have left. So what I took with me to knit on my holiday was a brand new project that I cast on, and it's already finished. I thought I'd take one small project because it's going to be on a domestic flight to and from, so I could actually have it in my hand luggage and do while I was on the plane. And pretty much the only time I did work on this while I was on the plane. So I took this little bag. I made sure that I had no scissors or anything like that. I did take a little container that had a crochet hook and a nail file in it, and that was and some stitch markers. I also took a tape measure, but I didn't end up needing to use the tape measure. And I also took some cotton so that I had to put in when I had to put stitches on hold, because what I made was a set of mittens or fingerless mitts. So a while ago, I was talking about mitts that I was making for my mum. She originally told me she wanted fingerless gloves. And I said something to her. She was like, "Oh, how are my fingerless gloves going?" I'm like, "Oh, I've put them on hold because just doing the fingers is really painful, right?" So she's like, "Well, if you don't want to do fingers, I'm okay with just mitts." So I'm like, all right. So I just took them off needles and put them aside. And instead I grabbed this is hand-dyed yarn of mine. It was an experimental skein. I called it Grey Socks. It's based on a photo of a lady knitting. And I had a little bit left. It was already balled up. And I thought it'll be plenty to make a pair of mitts. And what I did is I paired it with this blue sparkle yarn for the thumb and the top of the hand. I don't remember who this was by. I think it's Australian dyer who no longer dyes. So what I did is I cast on the first cuff before I left for Noosa so that I had my knitting on my needles. I decided to use my Addy Flexi needles. So you have the 2 to put your stitches on, and then you knit off with the 3rd. It makes it nice and compact. You're not pulling a long magic loop or anything like that, but it's less like sticking out pieces than having double pointed needles. And it made it nice and compact for working on. So as I said, I had the cuff already cast on before I got on the plane, so it was very clear that it was knitting. I had no issues through security whatsoever, not even a question about it. It just went straight through. I basically got the first mitt up to about here somewhere done on the plane on the way up. We were delayed a little bit leaving, so I was actually sitting in the plane for quite a while knitting before we even took off. Then what I did is I used this yarn to bind off the thumb gusset and to bind off the top of here. And I did the ribbing parts on both of them when I got back, by unpicking the blue and picking up the stitches and then adding in the other blue, the proper blue, because this is just a cotton. So then I did a little bit of knitting while we were on holiday, like actually up there one evening, watching a little bit of TV after dinner. And I cast on the second one so that then when I was on the flight on the way back, I had a project already on my needles, and I got most of this second one done. And then this past week, I've done the ribbing for the top and I've done the ribbing for the thumb. So I'll show you. It looks really kind of long and weird when it's not on your hand, but when I put it on, it kind of comes together really nicely. It covers up to about my little finger, which is like Mum's and my hands are about the same size, and it covers most of the thumb. She wanted to be able to still use like her phone or her Apple Watch, but keep her hands warm while she's going for walks. And I also said to her, you can also then sort of like tuck your hands down inside if you're getting a bit colder. But then also, if it's getting much warmer, you can roll down the cuff and you can roll down the thumb, and you've got a much more compact mitt that just keeps your palm warm, and you've really got your hands nice and free. So finished object, which I'll be gifting to her quite soon. She knows that these are coming, so it's not a surprise, although the yarn is a surprise because it's very different to the original pair that I had started and that I will now frog. This is based on the Simple Mitts pattern by Tin Can Knits, and instead of doing the decreases at the top, I just stopped and bound off, and I just did ribbing where I felt like for the thumb and for the top of the mitt. The final thing I want to show you is what I talked about last week, which was combining this alpaca yarn with a strand of silver thread. I've done a little swatch. I just have it sitting on a Chiagu needle tip at the moment because I needed the cord. So it's kind of popping off the needles, but that's okay because it's going to be ripped out anyway. I'm not sure that I like the fabric. It's probably the right density, but it feels like it's lost some of its drape. Maybe I need to block this and see how it comes out. I mean, obviously this silver thread is not elastic in any way, so it has made it a little more rigid. So I could try going up in needle size and see if that makes enough difference, or I could try washing it. The fabric itself, in terms of the color and how the silver looks together, is really nice, but I'm just not sure if it's going to give me the result I want. So I'm just going to sit and think about this for a little while. I haven't done any of the measuring of the other stuff yet to figure out potential yardage for what I have left of the other lace yarns that I talked about, but that it kind of is like percolating in the back of my mind as to what I might end up doing. Well, that's it for another week. Thanks for spending some time with me. If you're enjoying these videos, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I look forward to seeing you next week on the farm. Bye.